Greetings. In this video, we're going to have a look at how to work with jobs and assets in the operations area of CRM. So you can use either jobs or assets, or you can use both of them. It's completely up to you and what suits your business or organization best. So first of all, there's a link between jobs and assets. So let's have a look at what an asset is. An asset is a product that we sell to customers that we're either going to service or maintain for them in future. So what we need to do as a starting point is come into the inventory section and decide which of those products we want to turn into assets for our customer. So in this example, I have a coffee machine that I sell to my customers that I also service on an ongoing basis. So when you edit your existing products, there's a box you can tick here called Auto Create Asset When Sold. So that basically means that anytime I sell this coffee machine to a customer, the system is going to go and create an asset record for the coffee machine for that customer. So that just means that no one needs to remember to do it and no one needs to go and do the manual data input to start that record off. So come into your products, edit them, and basically tick this Auto Create Asset When Sold box, and that will create an asset when you sell that product to a customer. So let's have a look at what that looks like. So if I come into a sales order that I already have in the system where I've got a coffee machine on that order. So we'll open this one up, we'll come down and we can see that I'm selling the coffee machine. The system knows that that's going to create an asset. So what we have here is a button to configure the asset. So what I can do on the sales order if I want is I can click here, I can come through to the asset, I can enter in some details and then save it, or I can do nothing. I can basically just ship this, invoice it, and the system's going to go and create that asset record, and I can go and add some details to it later. So it's important that you've gone and separated out the products that you want to create assets for customers. You can also create assets manually as well if you want to. Nothing's stopping you doing it that way. The next thing we have to have a look at is when we're using jobs in the system. So if we're selling an asset that we're going to service and maintain, we need to have some products in the system for that service or maintenance. So coming back into the inventory area again, we've got a type of product that you can set up that's called a service. So you can see here my coffee machine is an item that I sell, but if I click here on the coffee machine service that I've set up as a product, it's got a type of service rather than item or time or subscription. So what I can do is go and set up different service products in my system. So I can have a default duration. So in this case, the coffee machine service is going to take me 3 hours, but you can pick days or minutes as well and customize that. What you can also do is have a cost for the service. So my 3-hour standard coffee machine service is going to cost $210. So I've got a cost price, so this is what it costs me to provide the service, and I can also put a description in here about what the service will actually do. So we'll check the coffee machine, we'll replace certain parts, we'll basically get it up and running again, and then the next scheduled service can take place later. So once you've got your service products set up, we can link them to assets and we can link them to jobs. So the two things that you'll need to do first are come in and pick which of your products you want to create assets with, and then go and set up some service products as well. What we also have the ability to do is create a PDF of a service report for jobs. So that's something else that you can set up at a system level. So if we come down into the admin area here, there's a section here called service reports. So what this lets us do is go and basically configure different fields for all the actions that we would perform on site for a service. So if we think about a car service as an analogy, when you take in your car for a 10,000 kilometre service, there's a standard range of actions and parts that they will use. So they'll replace the spark plugs, they'll replace the air filter, they'll do an oil check and change and all that sort of thing. So the service is a known quantity because there's certain things that need to be done and there's certain parts that need to be used. So what you can do is come into CRM and tell it about the jobs that you're performing and what they entail. So what you can do is group the tasks that your people will perform into a high level first. So I've got a group here for electrical tasks and I've got a group here for plumbing tasks. Underneath that, I can go and create fields for each of the different actions that are going to be performed as part of the service. So the fields that I create can be tick boxes, they can be number fields, they can be a drop-down list, they can be a text box, etc. So this is basically where we're going to capture all of the actions that we're performing on site so that we could input information about the outcome of those actions. Once we've got our service categories set up and our underlying fields, we can pull the two of those together to create a service report template. So I've pulled through electrical and plumbing tasks so that when a job is performed for a coffee machine service, the technicians can come in, tick the boxes, fill out the appropriate information, and easily spit out a PDF template. So what you can also do once you've created these service reports is if we come back into the inventory area and come back to our coffee machine service, once you've set up your templates, you can then go and link them to your service products so that every time I provide this service, the system is going to go and use this template for me. So that's as simple as editing the product record, and then we've got the service report template where we can go and pick the template that's applicable for this service. Now, while we're looking at this service product, what we'll see is once we save it and get it into the system, if we click to view more tabs over here, we have an area for service parts. So, like the car service, we've got the spark plug, the air filter, the oil, and all the things that we're going to use as part of this service. So what we can do is go into this service parts tab and specify the parts that we're going to use for this service. So in the case of the coffee machine service, I'm going to use machine oil, pancakes, a metal junk monster, a cupcake, and some labour for production. So this doesn't need to make sense because it's my database, but you get the idea. So we can go and specify all those parts beforehand so that when we add a service onto a job or a quote or something like that, all of the parts and pieces that we have will populate through. So that's helpful for the people performing the service because they know what goods they have to take to site. And it's also good because we can quote the customer or generate an invoice based on the parts and the time that we've spent. So go and separate out your asset products, go and create your service products, create your service report templates, and then link them up to your service products. So once you've done that system configuration, we can then hop in and start using jobs and assets. So there's a link between the two of them. So when we create an asset, we saw before how we could do that from a sales order. So we can automatically have asset records create. The other thing that we can do is create an asset directly from a customer record. So if I open up a customer, what I can do is click here to reveal more tabs. I can click on assets and I can quickly go and add an asset into the system this way. The other way that I can do it is just to come into assets here and click on new assets, and I can also go and create an asset from a ticket as well. So there's a number of different ways that you can kick that process off. So when we're creating an asset, let's do one now from scratch. So I'll click here for new asset. I can go and select the product that I'm selling that I'm going to maintain. So in this case, it's going to be the coffee machine. I can go and give this a display name. So it's basically like the name for this asset for the customer. So they might have a special name for the coffee machine or call it, kitchen coffee machine as opposed to basement coffee machine. So you can basically customize this field. So let's be conservative and we'll just call this a boring old coffee machine. If the product has a serial number, we can enter it in here as well for tracking purposes. And we can then go and select the customer that this asset belongs to. Now over on the side here, we can go and add a picture of the coffee machine into the system. So that means that we know what it looks like, and when people turn up on site to service it, they know exactly what they're looking for. So I don't happen to have a picture of a coffee machine to hand, so I'm just going to go and whack the Tall Emu logo in there to give you an example of what that looks like. Now on the asset form, there's a lot of detail that we can capture here. You don't have to fill out every field, just what's applicable to you. And what you'll also notice is there's a little bit of customization that we can do with regard to assets. So down here, we've got a field called an asset class and an asset subclass. So what you can do is populate the options on these lists as they're appropriate for your business. So you can do that by coming into the admin area in here and then coming into this area down here called settings, expand that, come down, and we'll see we have this area called asset settings. So from here, we can go and define the different asset classes, and then underneath that, we can have different asset subclasses. So get your terminology into the system here because it will make it really easy to then sort and segment your assets moving forward. So coming back, we can basically capture the date of installation. So when did this basically go in and get installed at the customer site? We can also specify whether the asset is broken, active, or inactive. So we can then search for show me all of the broken assets, show me all of the inactive ones, show me the active ones. So we'll say that this one's active. We can assign this to a particular person that's responsible for it. We also need to select the tax rate for the asset and also pop in the cost price as well. Now, if we've got customer information in here, so if this customer had an address, that would have automatically populated through to this address area here. What we can also do is go and select a site contact for the customer. So basically, anytime we need to do something with the coffee machine, arrange a service, schedule something, we contact this person, we call them, we SMS them, we email them, and that's effectively our site contact. In here, we can put notes about the asset. So that can be anything from the way it looks to a particular quirk that it has, any specifications, basically anything that we can use to provide further information about the asset that's going to be useful moving forward. So coming back up again, we can indicate here that the asset is owned by the customer I've selected here. So it could be a case where someone is leasing a coffee machine from somebody else who owns it, in which case they would not be the owner of the asset, and we can basically deselect that. We can capture in here the date that the asset was created, the date that it was removed, so if it's inactive or if it's broken, we can basically say this is the date that it was decommissioned or came out of service. We've also got a range of PPSR fields here that you can use to capture information. So you can basically use this for your business internally, for your assets, as well as for customer assets if required. We can also specify down here if the product has a warranty, when does that end? So let's just say that that's 2025 and pop that in. We can specify whether or not the product is on a service contract. So we tick that box to indicate that that's the case, and then we can say, okay, the service contract, let's say that that also goes to 2025, and that's when it's going to run out. When is the next service due on this machine? So we'll say it's in a couple of weeks, and this is where we're going to choose from our service products in the system to choose the type of service that's appropriate for this asset. So in this case, it's going to be the coffee machine. So we can say that it was first serviced when it was installed today, and in here we can add the asset location. So this could be the kitchen, it could be a basement, it could be a cupboard, you name it. So it's basically just some additional information when somebody gets on site, where do they go to find this? And they've also got the picture up here. So we can choose our asset class. So I'll choose machinery and then I'll choose coffee machine. So you can configure that. So we can now save and close the asset record. So I've got the picture of my coffee machine up here. I've got all the information that I've thrown into the system. I've got my notes. So what I can do now is add a job into the system and see all the historical jobs for this asset. I can add a ticket and also see any previous tickets related to this asset. So you would log a ticket if there was an issue. So if the coffee machine broke or there was something wrong or somebody needed to come out and have a look at it, we'd get the customer to log a ticket, then we'd go through and communicate, do our problem solving, and then create a job if we need to send somebody out to site. So the tickets basically let you see a history of issues for this particular asset. What we can also do is if we have address information, we can click here to locate the asset, and that will bring it up on the map so that we can see exactly where it is. When it comes to the service schedule here, what we can do is specify if there's an ongoing service schedule, and if so, on what basis is that. So I can click here to add a service schedule. So again, this is where we're going to link back to our service products in the system. So I'm going to say, yes, we provide a service, and it's the coffee machine service. All those parts that I had set up by default on that product, I'm going to say, yes, I'm just going to use those. I can then say, right, we're going to service this on a regular basis because it was basically till 2025 that I put in. And we can say, okay, so the first service is due on the 21st. And then after that, we're going to service it every 3 months or every 6 months or every however many weeks. So you can basically set that schedule in the system. So once we've got that information, I can click save and I've got my service schedule in here. So if I come back to jobs and then I refresh my record, what we'll see is the system has gone and created a job for me for the service on the 21st that I scheduled. So what will happen is I can now go and schedule that job, assign it to people, get that moving and get it locked in. Once that job has been completed, we've ticked all the boxes, we've issued the service report to the customer, the system will then go and create another job for 3 months down the track. Once that job is complete, the system will create another one, and so on and so forth until the end of that, basically that service history. So from the asset, we can see all of the jobs, all of the tickets, we can set a service schedule and basically come here to see these are all the jobs, these are all the issues related to this particular asset. Now, if we come back to the main screen in assets, what we can do is both on a per asset basis, we can go and add tags to a record. So this is a really good way of getting some custom information in a structured way. So what I can say is this is to do with a coffee machine. So I can also go and edit tags, I can rename them, I can go and change their colors, etc. So I can use this to basically capture some additional information so that when I come back, I could go and add the tags column to my view. So I could go to column chooser, go and add tags and basically move that across so that that's a visible column and I could sort things by the tags that are applied. I can also go and select multiple records and go and add a tag that way. So we'll just go and pop a test tag on there and that's done. I can also click here to delete an asset, and what you're definitely going to want to do with assets is set up a range of filters and layouts in your system. So this is my test system and I've got 23 asset records in here. In reality, your live system is going to have a bucket load of records. So think about what you want to see day to day. Show me the active assets, the inactive ones, the broken ones. Show me the ones that are on a service schedule. Show me the ones that have a warranty expiry coming up. Show me the ones that have a service schedule or a service period coming up that's about to end. Show me them by sales region, by sort of any measure of the imagination that we capture in an asset. We can then pull that information out. So we've got nice little workflow lists and we've got a high degree of visibility over the assets in the system. So definitely go and create different filters to show you what you want. And we can also create different layouts that have different configurations of columns. What you can also do if you'd like to is click up here underneath your name in the top right hand corner and click on the Excel icon and spit all of this out into an Excel spreadsheet if you'd like to as well. So just remember that everything you see in this list view is configurable. So I can grab a column and I can move it into a new position over here. I can also go and hide a column. So I could get rid of that and hide it from the view. I can click here and go and add or remove certain columns to my view. So you can see I've got a lot of different information available. So maybe I want the site contact's email address and name to be visible in this particular view. So I can go and choose which columns are viewable. I can also go, let's see if I've got a date field here. I don't. So let's go and add a date field in so that we can look at how the sort works. So if I come into my column chooser, let's go. What have we got? I'll go and choose my installation date. Install date, pop that back on here again. Now that's come in, if I scroll over to the side here, I can basically go and move that back into a different position. Oh no, I've clicked an incorrect button. Please hold. Let's do that again. Yeah. Install. And it would help if I could type. Oh no, it has added. I've just put it in a different position. Okay, so you can see that even the people that work with CRM on a day-to-day basis can find sometimes things a little bit tricky. So what I can do with this install date here is click here to sort that ascending. You can see I get the arrow, descending, and I can basically click here to sort that. I can also click in here and just say, right, show me anything that was installed, like, you know, last year, this week, last month, etc., and basically break things down that way. So I can search within these boxes, but definitely go and set up filters and layouts so it's easy to work with the bunch of assets that you have in the system day to day. So let's now go and have a look at jobs. So we can see that we put a job into the system and a scheduled service for this asset that we just created. So that's a way that we can do it. If we go into a ticket as well and open up an existing ticket in the system, we can also go and create a job from a ticket. We can create a job from a sales order as well. So if we come back up here into the sales area and I go to the order that I had for the coffee machine originally. So if we open that one up, we've got this little generate button here, and we can also go and initiate a job this way. We could go to the customer's record and we can scroll over to the jobs tab here. So we can basically come down and go jobs. I can go and add a job to the system. I can see the jobs. So there's a number of different ways to get jobs into the system. So it's just as to what's fastest for you, what you're doing at the time. So if we're boring and we just come directly into jobs and create a job that way, we can click on the new job button here. But what I'm going to do is choose the job that I had just created for that customer before. So let's see if we can have a look at, it should be the Beckenham Deli, I think, that I created that for. Let's go and use that one. So that's sitting here as unscheduled. So what I need to do is open this up, and you can see that it's pulled through details about the particular asset from that asset record. I've already got the cost of my parts and my service. I've got all of this information in the system. Now, what I can do, I can also add tags to jobs if I want to. So I can say that this is a coffee machine one, they're also a difficult customer, and this is an on-site service. So I can come and play with these tags, rename, recolor, etc., and have some fun there. Moving down a little bit further, we've got this area where you can add attachments. So what we can do is, this is a picture of the site before we started. This is when we pulled the coffee machine apart. This is what it looked like on the inside. And then when we left, this is how we left it. Everything was correct and in order. You can also have plans, drawings, schematics, pictures, you name it, anything you need in this attachments area. So the job is basically designed to capture all the information associated with the service. So we've got a nice, neatly packaged record with all the information. Coming down a little bit further, we've got a timeline on here as we do on all other records. So we can go and add our notes, our calls, our emails, our SMSs, etc. We can also have a look at the items that are on here. So because we've told the system that we're doing a coffee machine service, it's automatically pulled over all of those parts and their cost through here. So that information is already good to go. Now what we can do at this point is say, okay, we need to quote the customer for this, and let's just generate a quote for what's here. I can also just turn up on site and just go, okay, well, this is what we quoted you for originally, but I also need to replace a couple of extra parts. It will take more labor, etc. And we can go and add a quote or add some items in here and then regenerate a quote as well. So once the quote has been accepted, it can be turned into a sales order. We can also just generate a sales order quickly from here. And we can see all of the quotes and all of the sales orders associated with this job from these particular tabs, as well as we can the invoices. What we've also got here that's helpful is a tab for historical jobs. So this will show all the other times that this asset has been serviced. So that can be useful. If somebody turns up on site to service an asset, they can look back at the previous service history and see what's involved there, and that might help them troubleshoot or diagnose a particular problem. What we can also do is copy a job. So if somebody's coffee machine broke 6 months ago and it looks like it's the same issue again, we could just pull up the original job, copy that as a new one, and then send somebody out to site to fix that. So really handy is that copy button. The other thing that we can do in here is also preview our service report. So once we've created our service report template and linked it up to our service product, what we can do when we go out onto site is start ticking some boxes. So for that, I'll need to edit the job record and come down here and click on this little green service report button here. So what that gives me access to are all the fields that I've set up in my service report. So my fields naturally don't make a lot of sense, but you get the idea. So I've got a drop-down list here for checking the cord. I can throw a number in here. I can throw some text in here, another number. I've got a tick box. So I can go and set up all sorts of different fields to capture information. So once all of that's been filled in, I can save and close it, and then I can come and preview my service report here. So this has just spat all of that out in a PDF. So I've got all the details of my job, when it started, when it ended, and this is all the information that we've captured about the activity that happened on site. So what we can do now is click on the email button, and that service report as a PDF can automatically attach to an email so that you can send that out. Also, what you can do from jobs is you'll probably want to line up the jobs. So you can see here I've got an email template set up that's basically confirming a job with a customer. So I'm merging in information from the job into the email so that I don't have to manually populate it. So in this case, I'm saying this is the type of service we're doing, this is when it's due, this is when we're booked for, this is the address we're coming to, please confirm. So I can send emails out pre, post, during the job if I want to. I can also send out SMS notifications if I've got my system hooked up for that particular capability. So what we can also do down the bottom here is you can see I've gone and put a signature in here. So once the job's done on site, if you've got a tablet or something, the customer can go and sign there and say that they're happy with the work. Once that's saved and closed, that then forms part of the record. So you'll see that with our jobs, we've got some information here that we can customize. So if we come back into the, I've got a lot going on here. If we come down into admin and back into this settings area again, what we can do is come into job settings. So this type drop-down list we can customize with options and also the status of our jobs. So definitely go and put your process and your terminology in here, because if we come back to the record, the type options here are basically populating from what we've got on this list, as are the status options. So come in here, make it your own, make it so that it's appropriate for your process and how you conduct business, and that's going to make it easier to work with moving forward. So the type here I can set as coffee machine, and I can basically go and set all these different status options here. So what I need to do in this case is go and schedule the job for a date and time. So this information is important. So we've got start date, start time, end time. All of this information can be pulled across into the calendar in Jobs View, which is going to make it really easy for you to schedule and reassign your jobs moving forward. So this is when the job is actually going to take place. I can capture a client's purchase order number if I need to. I can choose whether prices are shown with or without tax. I can also factor in estimated travel time to the job. And as well as having, right, this is the date and time that the service is going to happen, we can basically say, okay, this is the ETA and this is the due date, and then we can go and schedule it in. So if we have unscheduled jobs and we know that their next service is due by the 14th, we can get in touch with them and basically lock in a date and a time from there. So as well as having the job assigned to a person who's primarily responsible, we can also go and add other attendees to the job. So I can select from other users in the system and say, right, I'm going to need to take a team of people with me. So I can go and select all these people, and I can also break this down by a sales region. So I can basically go and link this job record to different people, different things in the system, and capture all that detail here. So once I've got my job information in, if we come back to the main job screen, we've got a range of different options. So we've got the calendar option here. So what I can do is go and select calendars for myself and other users. So I'll just pick the people that I have attendees on that job. And I can basically go and say, all right, let's look at today. And then I'll change that to the work week so that we can see that I've got some jobs in the system here and I've got some jobs that are going to overlap. So let's just bring that to the 7th, and this is what we've got today. So I can go and drag and drop a job to a different person on a different date, on a different time if I want to. So I can go and reassign jobs to other people. So this is a great way for seeing what's in your pipeline, dragging and dropping to reassign, and basically set up your schedule from here. So you can change the interval you're viewing things at. So I can just look at what I've got on for the month, and I can see I've got a whole heap of jobs. I can go, right, well, this one hasn't been assigned to anyone yet. So I'm going to go and give this to Gary, and I'll make him work on a Saturday. So I've now reassigned that to a person. So what you can do is when we're in that job, we went and specified a start date, an end date, a start time, an end time. What you can also do is do that, but just not assign it to anyone. Then you can see it will show up in this little due calendar. So then we've got all our things on our dates, and then we can go and decide who to assign it to based on what we've got going on volume-wise here. So if we come back to the boring old list view in here, we basically want filters and layouts to break down these jobs as to what their status is, who they're for, what the asset is, what the service type is, who's involved, when they're scheduled for, when their due date is, you name it. So what we can do is have filters set up. So show me all of the jobs that are in progress at the moment. I've got 6. Show me all of the jobs that are completed. I've only got 3. Show me all of the jobs that haven't been started yet for this month. I've got 2. So definitely, again, think about what it is that you want to see day to day in the system. Set up a filter for that, and also go and set up a layout to go with it, because depending on whether you're looking at closed jobs, open jobs, unscheduled ones, etc., you're going to want different layouts to show you different information. So I've got like a nice little job layout here. Also note that you can also go and click to export these jobs out to Excel and play around with them that way if you want to. With the address information for the location of the jobs, what you can do is then go and view your jobs on the map. So I can see I've got 8 in Adelaide, 13 in Melbourne, 11 in Sydney, and I've also got 3 in Perth. So I can basically drill down into this data by different statuses. So I probably don't want to see whatever's completed or cancelled. I basically just want to see the stuff in progress. The other thing I can do is click on this little root button over here and say, okay, show me what I've got on today. So what the system will do is say, right, this is where you're based. So this is your starting point number 1. Then you've got a range of different jobs in Melbourne. So I've got a long drive ahead of me. So I can basically drill down in here and see that I've got a range of jobs in this area. So it's basically showing me for today, this is the route that I need to take for my jobs. So that can be handy for the people that are actually going out and doing the work. So as well as map view, we've also got Kanban view. So that's why it's important again to go and classify your statuses for your jobs, because we can view them this way as well. So we can also click on the gear icon and select which statuses we want to have a look at. So maybe I'll get rid of completed, maybe I'll get rid of cancelled. And I can also drag and drop jobs between statuses. So this one here that's new, I'm going to go and change that to en route. This one that's unscheduled, I'll change that to en route. I'll move in progress back to unscheduled, and I can drag and drop to quickly update the status of records in here. If we come back to the list view, I can also update the status of records in bulk by using the bulk update feature. So what I can do is pick a couple of records and just go, right, I'm going to reassign all of these to a different person. So I can go assign to and select a person there instead of having to go in and out of each individual record to do that. I can also reschedule things. I can change the start dates, basically pick a field and update the value, and I can do that in bulk for records. I can also add tags to records in bulk, so I'll pick those 3 again and go and add tags to them and say that they're all coffee machine jobs and click OK. And I can also delete a job out of the system if I need to. So that is your crash course in jobs and assets inside of CRM. And as I said, there's a little bit of configuration work to get your system with the right products, the right setup to start using these. And it's definitely worthwhile going and creating filters and layouts in these areas so that you can break these down easily. So we've also got some written help on the subject in the online help. So definitely have a look at that as well. But I hope this has been useful. That's it.